and Ty Show. This is our special Halloween edition where we talk about our favorite Halloween movies that we think are perfect for the season, that everyone should be watching to get into that spooky Halloween spirit.
On today's show, we have our special guest, Dr. Kyle.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's frightening to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I live for this.
Yeah, just don't bite too hard.
I won't.
I'm sitting over to the side a bit, if anyone's wondering why.
I'm a werewolf, not a vampire. It's not a full moon tonight, so you guys should be safe.
We're going to discuss the top 10 movies to watch for Halloween. Each of us have picked 3 movies each, and then there's going to be the number 1 pick to watch for Halloween. And there's also going to be some honorable mentions of what movies should be watched for during Halloween that didn't make the top 10 list.
Yeah, I had a really hard time narrowing it down to several. So, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Alright, so my first pick for today is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I think this is just a great classic movie to watch with your family, the whole entire family. Basically, Charlie Brown is looking for the Great Pumpkin in the pumpkin patch. And, of course, they go trick-or-treating, and Charlie Brown gets a rock. Everybody always loves that episode.
Yes. I have a candy bar. I got a piece of gum. I got a bag of chips. I got a rock.
I got a rock. So I think this is definitely a movie that the whole entire family should enjoy and watch.
My first pick, it's actually like the scariest movie I've ever seen. And it's G.I. Jane, starring Demi Moore. And if you're looking for a really great, frightening Halloween costume, you can go as Demi Moore from G.I. Jane. But in all seriousness, I'm going to talk about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. It's a very underrated, underappreciated movie. The only problem with this movie is that it's called Halloween. Michael Myers is not in this movie. None of the characters or the events from the first 2 movies appear in any way, shape, or form. It's totally a standalone movie. It's more sort of sci-fi horror, but if you're looking for a good Halloween movie that takes place at Halloween, that has great, iconic Halloween stuff, it's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. A little quick backstory about it. Apparently, John Carpenter never wanted to do a sequel to Halloween. He wanted it to be standalone. And when pressured into doing sequels, he had the idea that each one was going to be its own story, so an anthology kind of thing. So each Halloween movie was going to be different characters, different scenario that all featured in and around Halloween. And they told him they could totally do that if they gave them one more Michael Myers movie. So he did Halloween 2, which pretty much destroyed Halloween 3 because then everyone expected Michael Myers. And I swear, if they just called this John Carpenter's Season of the Witch, you would all have known about it, and it would be a favorite among everyone, but it's not. Most people don't like it, but I love it, and I strongly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
That's true. When people say Halloween, you think of Michael Myers, and that's it.
Yeah.
And even what's popular today, like all the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween, you have Michael Myers, so that's what people know. But
yeah. He's, the iconic face of Halloween, which, to be honest, Halloween 4 is awesome. I did love the return of Michael Myers. Halloween 5 and 6 and all that, not so great. But, when they did bring Michael Myers back for Halloween 4, it actually was a really good movie, and it was great to see him and all that. But they just shouldn't have called Season of the Witch Halloween. But they did. But seriously, check it out. It is really awesome. It has some pretty fun effects. It's not too gory, but it's just a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Not as scary as G.I. Jane, but...
All right, so the first movie that I decided to pick is something that's a classic, and it is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I would say most people know of this movie and have watched it at some point during Halloween, but it's a great movie because, first of all, they put it on TV pretty much every Halloween, and for good reason, because it's one of those fun movies that you can sing along to, get into the characters, and have a good time with.
And I think they still perform it at the Bloor Cinema every year.
Yeah, like it's a classic because people again year after year people keep wanting to see it and perform it and get dressed up with the characters and kind of make it their own. And there's a lot of fun scenes in it, like Time Warp and
Or there's the Meatloaf one.
yeah, the Meatloaf one.
Janet, what's that one?
Damn it, Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not necessarily scary and all that, but it's fun to watch and it's fun to get into, and it's something you can watch with maybe not the whole family, but with your family. If you have older kids or teenagers, they can start by watching something like this for Halloween and kind of get into it that way.
It's definitely Halloween, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely Halloweenish, and of course, who doesn't love Tim Curry in drag makeup, and Meatloaf as a crazy guy, and what's her name?
Young, hot Susan
Sarandon
Sarandon.
as touch me, touch me, touch me. So if you don't know what I just was referring to, then that's why you need to watch this movie.
And check out the sequel. Not a lot of people know about the sequel, but they actually made a sequel to it called Shock Treatment.
Oh, I didn't even know
which is really awesome. It's not Susan Sarandon. It's they totally new cast, but the music's great and it's the same vein. And if you do find it in a discount bin somewhere, grab it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip because I did not know that, and it'd be fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
Watch back to back or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, don't download movies, buy them.
Buy them, or just print off the script, and you and your friends can reenact them.
Yeah.
So my next pick is Scream.
3?
It's Scream. Just Scream 1. Scream 1. This is the trilogy, but I'm referring to Scream 1. Also, 1, 2, and 3 were pretty good, but the first one is definitely the best one. This came out, what year was this again? It was like
97,
96 or 97 it came out. So I was in high school at the time, elementary school at the time when it came out, and it definitely was one of the scariest movies at the time that I went to the theater to go see. It's one of those great movies where you don't know who the killer is, but there's all these little subtle hints that you know who's behind the ghost face mask. This did become a very popular Halloween costume for the next few years, and it's still kicking around as well.
And it really set the stage for everything that followed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a great slasher movie. If you like blood and guts and stuff, and chase scenes, and intense, and having you guessing. Because I found I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was guessing who the killer was constantly. I was like, oh, it's him. No, it's him. No, it's Dewey. No, it's. But great movie. So if you haven't seen it, which I don't know who hasn't seen this movie that's out there, but if you haven't, please do so. Definitely watch the first one. And if you enjoy that, watch the second one, third one, fourth one. I think there might be a fifth one that's probably being shot. I don't see.
They're all interesting. Some are better than others, but
yeah, they're all worth a watch for sure.
Yeah.
The second one, the opening scene, is actually my favorite scene of the whole series. But then it kind of takes a nosedive for 90 minutes. And the third one we were talking about earlier is kind of like it's more like Scary Movie than Scream.
It's more of a comedy.
Yeah, it's kind of spoofy, and
first one's very intense, and then it goes kind of downhill from there from being scary.
The fourth one was pretty good, actually, though. I did enjoy the fourth one. Fourth one's actually quite bloody.
Is that the one that we saw in theaters?
Yeah, fourth one.
Is that like a newer one? I mean,
yeah, the Emma Roberts one.
Yeah.
That came out in 2011, I think, maybe around there.
Was it that long ago? Wow.
Or 2012.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it was actually quite good, and surprisingly, I'd say it's the fourth one's probably the bloodiest out of all of them.
Yeah.
Kudos to the late Wes Craven.
Craven,
rest in peace. And but the fact that he was still able to turn out a solid slasher movie yet again was great. Yeah, good pick.
Yep. So go watch that.
My next pick. So I'm still going a little more obscure. My favorite horror author is Clive Barker, and he's made some of my favorite, not only horror movies, but my favorite movies of all time. So my next pick is Nightbreed from 1988, I believe. 1990, starring Craig Schaefer and David Cronenberg. Actually has a great role in this movie. It's a great movie. It's a monster movie. Special effects extravaganza, an amazing musical score by Danny Elfman, and it's just a really fun movie. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Again, in line of Halloween, there's a lot of great monsters and ghouls, and you can get some good costume ideas from it as well. They've recently just came out with a director's cut, and those of you who know me very well will be shocked to hear that I haven't seen it. But it's supposed to be much better. It's like 40 extra minutes or something like that, and apparently Clive Barker was never happy with the final cut of the film. The powers that be made him slice half of it, and it just never was the movie that he really intended. I still love it. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it's the good qualities outshine the bad ones so much that I would still probably give it 5 full moons out of 5. And I highly recommend it.
And sometimes, not that that's a bad movie, but sometimes the worst movies are the best movies.
For sure, absolutely.
In a way, right? You have those low-budget horror movies that sometimes are so, corny that you love it so much. So
like Ghoulies.
Yeah.
Or Poltergeist 3.
Yeah, ones that make you laugh, but that's why you like it. So yeah. So my second pick for a movie is Bram Stoker's Dracula, a Francis Ford Coppola film. And it was made in the early 90s, and I love this movie because Gary Oldman is in it, and he does such a good Dracula, and which is, when I mean a good Dracula, I mean a pretty sexy Dracula.
It really makes it his own, for sure.
So I really like it for that, but besides that, I like it also because you have other good actors in it, like Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, but what I like about this movie is the atmosphere and the feeling you get when you watch it, because it's very gothic and very dark, and the music with the scenery goes very well together, and it's romantic in a sense, like a romantic vampire movie, but it's also scary and twisted and weird at the same time, and you have a lot of blood and a lot of gore. So they have the best of both worlds. You have that romantic, vampire ideal that Bram Stoker kind of created with Dracula, and then you also have the horror side with the blood and the gore and, the vampire bites and all that. So for that reason, I love this movie. It's fun to watch on Halloween. What was I going to say? Oh, and also the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi is obviously amazing as well. So if you are a fan of Dracula, you should watch this and the original, because I think they're both great. I couldn't really pick between the two, but if you want a modern pick, then this is a good one.
Nice,
is that okay?
Mm-hmm. So my next movie, my final pick is a classic movie. A lot of people growing up in the 80s and in late 70s, early 80s were very scared of this movie. It's a movie by Tobe Hooper, and here it is, The Poltergeist. The Poltergeist. Yes, another one was redone just recently, but you got to watch the original one. This is, I find, one of the most scariest movies of all time. Even for people born in the late 90s, late 90s, still watch this movie, because I think it'll still scare the heaps of jeebs out of you. Because I know a lot of the older scary movies, the kids these days are like, it's pretty phony, the graphics and everything. But I think this one, you'll find that it's pretty scary.
And the special effects still hold up, for
exactly,
sure.
It's still very creepy when you watch it.
Very well done.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's fun from start to finish.
Yeah. And of course, all of the parents out there probably watched this in the theaters and got really scared.
And if you research online, this movie here has a kind of a curse attached to it. There's like a lot of events and things that went on during this movie. People getting hurt, things going wrong, people dropping out of the production, and they actually almost think it's maybe something supernatural is why, you know, that has been happening. So it's really interesting if you look at the background of this film, and not just this film, but I think there's a couple other, am I right?
There's 3 of them, and they've each been cursed.
Yeah, and
I think 5 people, I think, have died.
So,
throughout the filming
people
of
die,
all
and
3, and
nobody wants to really touch it, but the funny thing is, isn't there another one coming out, or there was one that came out?
they just did a remake, which was awful.
They just
That
did a
was its own
remake,
curse.
and that was a curse in itself, so maybe that's what happened there.
Apparently the story is, you know, that sort of life began to imitate art, and one of the themes of this movie is that it takes place over an old ancient native burial ground, and I think, I'm not sure about the first one, but definitely the second one, they actually shot the soundstage was on top of an ancient native burial ground.
Wonderful.
And so I think the sister from the first movie died tragically in a car accident. 2 actors from the second movie died shortly after filming, and Heather O'Rourke, who plays Carol Ann, tragically died halfway through filming the third film, and so there's been definitely a curse on the Poltergeist series, but the first movie definitely is one of the greatest and most iconic. I mean, just that shot of her at the TV, and, you know, they're here. I mean, that, that's still...
And the clown scene.
And the clown,
Maybe people find that corny, but I think that's
the clown
kind
scene
of
was one of
scary.
the scariest scenes.
Yeah.
And the one from the second one, do you guys remember the second one where the kid's braces start, like...
Yep.
Yeah.
Gets consumed by his braces. It's really great stuff.
Great series to watch. I definitely start with the first one, and this is probably the best one out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. And then watch the second one, and by the time you get to the third one, hopefully you'll be drunk enough that, you know, you won't notice how flawed it is, but it's not really their fault. Tragedy struck, and
It's a curse.
They did what they could.
Yeah, you'll die over this.
Mm-hmm.